I recently started watching Generation Loss, and I'll be honest, I'm disappointed. Deeply. Bitterly. Because this could have been incredible. With the budget, the concept, the talent pool, Generation Loss had the makings of something groundbreaking. But instead of a genre-bending horror experience, we've ended up with a meandering, frustrating mess. And at the heart of that mess is one fatal flaw. A cast that refuses to commit. So let's begin. What actually is Generation Loss? Generation Loss is a horror-based interactive livestream series created by Ranboo, known mostly for Minecraft content. It's meant to be a dark, immersive story told across multiple episodes, blending dystopian sci-fi, psychological horror, found footage, and reality TV satire. The big gimmick? It's streamed live, and the audience gets to make choices in real time. Think Bandersnatch, but with a Twitch chat voting instead of Netflix prompts. It's ambitious, it's high concept, it wants to be disturbing, theatrical, genre-bending meta. It also wants to look good. And it does look good. The visual production is genuinely next level for this kind of creator-driven media. But as you're about to see, concept and execution are two very different things. Before I get into everything the show did wrong, and oh boy, I will, I want to take a minute to talk about what Generation Loss actually did really, really well. Because despite how frustrated I am with the overall experience, there is a lot of genuine craftsmanship here that deserves credit. First off, the set design, immaculate, genuinely. The spaces feel real, like actual lived environments, especially in episode 1. The cabin, and the basement in particular, there's this eerie, grounded authenticity to everything. It doesn't feel like a set, it feels like a place with history, like something you could walk into. Every prop feels deliberate, every space textured and thought out. The transitions between scenes too. A lot of the sleight of hand in how they swap props or hide entrances is done with real precision. It's theatrical but seamless, and when it does show its artifice, like the fabric wall in the bedroom scene where Slimesicle pushes against it and it gives way, it's done in this surreal, uncanny way that genuinely caught me off guard. That moment, that was really fucking cool. The lighting design also deserves praise. The way the light filters through the cabin windows, giving this natural sense of time passing, it's beautiful. It gives the world a sense of rhythm and a place that the story itself doesn't always manage. It's one of those subtle touches that elevates the whole visual language of the show. Every detail helps sell the environment, and that attention to detail matters. Honestly, I do think a lot of effort went into this. You can see how much work people put in. The production team, the set dressers, the lighting crew, the costume designers, everyone behind the scenes clearly cared, but watching Generation Loss is like watching someone run a marathon carrying a cake. They make it 99% of the way, dodging obstacles, balancing it perfectly, and then right as they reach the finish line, they trip and smash it onto the pavement. Or to put it less kindly, it's like they did everything right. They made it all the way to the bathroom and then shit themselves right outside the door. All that build-up, all that potential, and just when it mattered most, they lost control. And that's what makes it so frustrating. It's not lazy failure, it's a passion misfire. It could have been incredible. It almost was.
We're stuck here. Any of those buttons over there work?
Nothing.
Let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, the majority of these performers are YouTubers, not trained actors. And no, that's not inherently a bad thing. Many YouTubers are natural performers, and there's a unique authenticity that can come from that. But if you're going to step into a project that demands character work, improvisation, and emotional range, especially in a horror context, then the bare minimum is to act. Instead, what we get is a room full of people who seem more interested in keeping things funny, haha, than telling a compelling story. With the exception of a few standouts, Slimecicle, Nia Chu and Ethan Nestor, most of the cast are passive to the point of invisibility. They don't drive the story, they don't make decisions, they just stand around reacting with less emotional weight than someone watching their favourite mug break. People die, the stakes escalate, the world falls apart around them, and what do we get? A chorus of, huh, that's weird. That's it. That's the line. Over and over again. This isn't just bad writing, it's bad acting, it's bad improvisation, and it's maddening to watch. I've studied acting since I was little, and the most frustrating experience in a scene is being paired with someone who refuses to make choices. Generation Lost is full of these people. Characters are introduced with clear moral frameworks or personalities, only to abandon them minutes later if a different bit seems more entertaining in the moment. There's no through line, no consistency, no commitment, just endless, half-baked reactions and contradictions. There's no yes and, the fundamental rule of improv. No space given for other performers. Everyone wants to talk at once, but no one's actually saying anything. The result is a wall of noise, a chaotic jumble of people trying to be the centre of attention while ironically doing nothing at all. Nothing of narrative substance, nothing of emotional weight. What makes this even more frustrating is that some of the minor characters, the henchmen of the slime demon, the henchmen of the puzzler, actually deliver better performances than the leads. They're believable. They show emotional range, they respond to situations like people, they have presence, stakes, a sense of self, and honestly, that's more than can be said for most of the main cast. The fact that the background characters, with barely a handful of lines, come across as more emotionally invested than the protagonist tells you everything you need to know about this show's misaligned priorities. What makes all of this even more baffling is that these same creators, these exact people, are more than capable of giving genuine, full-bodied emotional reactions. We've all seen it. When they're playing Minecraft and a creeper blows them up, or they drop all their gear into lava, their responses are full of panic, devastation, hilarity, life. But in Generation Loss, faced with horror, existential fear, death, violence, and moral decay, their default mode is detachment. It makes you wonder, did they do this because they were passionate about the story? Or did they do it simply because they could? Even Ranboo, the protagonist of the entire story, only starts taking any real initiative in the final episode, and even then it's half-hearted. It's not character agency, it's still just obedience. He does what Hetch tells him to do, and that's that. Whether or not it's a deliberate narrative choice to show him as someone constantly following orders, it's a bad narrative choice. We can't connect to a protagonist who never chooses, who never grows. He's reduced to a placeholder, a robot for others to program, and when your central character has the emotional depth of a sponge, the story collapses around him. Ranboo's repeated, almost mantra-like question, "What do I do?" could have been compelling. In a stronger narrative, a protagonist who starts out disoriented and submissive can evolve into someone empowered, defiant, or even tragically complicit. But here, he never evolves, he just keeps asking the same question over and over, never making choices, never learning, never changing, and as an audience member, there's nothing to latch onto. No growth to follow, no core to empathise with. He's just a guy standing around saying, "This is weird, and what do I do about it?" without ever doing anything. And yes, I understand that the concept of the first two episodes is that Ranboo is being controlled by the audience, but that doesn't excuse the emotional vacuum surrounding him. Even if his actions are out of his control, his reactions should still belong to him. His horror, his fear, his rebellion, his inner life, but instead he remains blank. emotionally disconnected from the very chaos that is supposed to be destroying him. If your protagonist feels nothing, then we feel nothing too. Even the humour fails. Sure, the first time someone reacts flippantly to a gruesome death, the contrast is kind of funny. But the 10th time? The 20th? When every reaction is the same glib nonchalance, the bit dies. Comedy relies on contrast and rhythm, setup and payoff, but there is no build-up in Generation Loss. No tonal variation, just endless scenes of people saying, "Wow, that's crazy," and moving on like they didn't just watch a friend get murdered. And yet, there is one moment, one very specific moment in episode 2 that felt like a breath of air in a sealed room. The group is in the puzzler's, dress-up room, and one character, Austin, starts freaking out. An outburst about everyone's lack of agency, their refusal to react or engage with the horror around them. And in that moment, I saw myself in him. Not the character, but the actor. It felt like he'd finally broken, like he was begging his co-stars to just please react, to do something. It wasn't just in-character desperation, it felt real, honest, raw. It felt like he was saying everything I was thinking, screaming in my head, screaming at the screen, just do something. And then, just as quickly, he drops it, slides right back into idle commentary and half laughs. Huh, that was weird. And the spark dies. But for a second, the show felt like it was waking up. And it made it all the more painful to know that that could have been the tone, that could have been the baseline. That moment, brief and fleeting, was a glimpse of what Generation Loss could have been if anyone had just committed. Even the questions the characters ask, when they do ask them, often feel like afterthoughts. One moment that sticks out is in episode 3, when Ranboo sees a security guard. At first, he's visibly unsettled, but the second someone tells him not to worry, he just does that. And only after a pause, like he suddenly remembers his cue, he goes, "Wait, security? That doesn't look human." It doesn't feel like a character reacting. It feels like an actor remembering halfway through the scene that he's supposed to be reacting. The cast doesn't inhabit their roles, they simulate them. There's no immersion, no flow. Reactions feel post-processed, like someone off stage whispered, "Now act surprised," and the constant delay breaks the illusion. It reminds you that these aren't characters trapped in horror. They're YouTubers playing dress-up and forgetting their lines. To be honest, most of the characters seem less terrified or invested in the story around them and more inconvenienced. That's the word. Not horrified, not shocked, not unraveling, just mildly put out. Like someone's knocked over their drink or interrupted their game night. Death, violence, and dystopia become slightly annoying background noise. And again, that could maybe work as commentary if it was contrasted with anything, but it's not. It's the default tone. Even when Ranboo finally tries to make a decision, when he chooses to walk away and call the police, it's undone immediately. Hetch swoops in, reveals the cast is still alive, and the moment is stripped of all emotional weight. Sure, the show could have used that twist to undercut expectations, but in order for something to be subverted, it has to first exist. And there's just nothing to undermine. No grief, no genuine loss. The show seems desperate to appear brutal and horrifying, but when death means nothing and no action has consequence, it just becomes farce. How can this company be some all-powerful evil empire if they're not actually killing anyone? What are we rebelling against? Bureaucracy? Practical jokes? It stops feeling like a sinister dystopia and starts feeling like an elaborate LARP run by hypnotic pranksters. And once you get there, the horror is gone, the tension is gone, all that's left is noise. Speaking of endless noise, let's talk about the music, because oh my god, the music. I know this is going to sound nitpicky, but it genuinely impacted the entire experience for me. There's basically one musical motif, one synthy little loop that plays over and over and over again for the entire runtime, and yes, repetition in music can be effective. A reoccurring theme can build atmosphere, signal dread, tie things together, but this is like being stuck in an elevator with a horror soundtrack on loop for 4 hours straight. It's not atmospheric, it's maddening. It's not just that it's repetitive, it's that it's incessant. It never lets up. It sits there buzzing away under every scene like a mosquito in your ear until you start tuning out the actual story just to cope with the noise. You're trying to focus on what someone's saying or what a character's doing, and there's this constant hum just drilling into your skull. It makes everything feel tense, yes, but not in the way the show wants you to feel tense. It's not horror tension, it's I might actually turn this off out of irritation tension. I genuinely don't think they realised how overwhelming it gets when you're watching the full episodes from start to finish without breaks. What might sound fine for a 30-second teaser becomes unbearable stretched over hours. The soundtrack isn't supporting the scenes, it's smothering them. And that is a shame, because the sound design in other areas, the voice filters, the glitch effects, the environmental ambience is actually really well done. But the music, it wears you down until you're not scared anymore, just exhausted. Worse, that incessant noise seems to extend to the dialogue, and it drags on forever. Scenes that could communicate their point in 10 minutes stretch to 30, padded with mindless drivel, rambling, overlapping chatter that adds nothing to plot or character. The show mistakes sheer runtime for immersion. Instead, it dilutes every moment until any urgency evaporates. By the time something finally does happen, you're too numb or too bored to care. What frustrates me most is that I want to like this show. I honestly pride myself on being able to follow and engage with storylines no matter how unrealistic or rough around the edges they are. I mean, I watched The Dream SMP as a young teenager and was completely invested in it. I cried over those arcs, rooted for those characters, and didn't care how scuffed the format was. But Generation Loss is different. It's not messy in a charming way, it's just inert. There are entire stretches of this show I've had to skip or watch at double speed because they are so mind-numbingly packed with nothing. I haven't actually finished Generation Loss. I'm exactly 9 minutes and 27 seconds into the final episode. I want to finish it. I keep opening it, pressing play, and almost immediately I find myself pausing again. Not because I'm bored, but because something else has gone wrong, another missed opportunity, another underwhelming scene, another moment that just leaves me frustrated. Maybe the last 38 minutes will redeem it. Maybe it'll all come together. But honestly, I doubt it. I hope I'm wrong. God, I hope I'm wrong, but it's hard to hold out hope when a story has asked for your patience again and again, and has never done anything with it. I was wrong. I watched the last 38 minutes of Generation Loss, and it completely changed my perception of the show. But not in the way you might think. I didn't suddenly get it. I didn't have an emotional breakthrough where everything clicked into place and I felt vindicated. What I felt was worse. I felt cheated. Because here's the thing. The final act is good, like, actually good. Rambu's performance is genuinely strong. The story starts making sense. The characters become sympathetic in a way they never were before. It's tense, emotional, and finally feels like it's building towards something. And all I could think was, they could have done this the whole time. If this is what they were capable of, if this was in the cards all along, why on earth did they choose to make us sit through 2.5 episodes of nothing first? Maybe it's some grand commentary on nihilism. Maybe it's about the illusion of choice, of streamers bending to the chaotic whims of their audiences. Maybe the meaning was that we weren't supposed to feel in control, that we were meant to feel lost and confused and empty, but regardless of the intended message, the result is the same. A dull, confusing, emotionally hollow slog for the majority of the runtime. It didn't have to be this way. They could have made it amazing, start to finish. They had the budget, they had the talent, they had moments that proved they know how to land an emotional beat, but instead of building on that, they buried it. They made us wade through noise and nonsense and apathy before finally giving us a glimpse of what this show could have been. And honestly, that's worse than if it had just been bad. I want to be clear. This isn't me trying to slate these creators. A lot of them I genuinely love. I watch their videos, I follow them. I've been incredibly invested in other things they've made. My frustration doesn't come from a place of hatred. It comes from hope. I'm disappointed because I know they can do better. Because I've seen them do better. And while they don't owe me or anyone some perfect masterpiece, I do think they owe themselves the chance to take their own work seriously. And hey, this isn't to discourage anyone from watching Generation Loss. If you're curious, you should watch it. Because despite everything I've said, there is incredible talent behind the scenes. The production value is insane, the sets are stunning, the lighting design is genuinely beautiful, the props and costumes immaculate. There's so much passion in the world building and visual storytelling, and a few performances, Charlie, Nikki, Ethan, Jerma, really do shine through. And if your favourite streamer is in it and you want to support them, go for it. Watch it. Or don't. Just make a fucking choice. Also, now that we're at the end of the video, why did Rambu just leave Charlie to that monster? I mean, he was still alive. He was still Why would he do... In case you haven't noticed, I have a massive bias towards Charlie Slimesicle. He's an incredible actor, he's an incredible streamer, he's just very, very funny and all-round a well-rounded person. Why did Rambu